APL Talk is an exceptional online educational resource that addresses authentic, optimal health vibrancy through informative discussions to help people and their families live healthier and productive lives. And now your co-host, Carl Tichenor and Mary Esther Gilbert.
Greetings, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for APL Talk. And this is our third in a series of educational podcasts about APL nutraceutical drops that we've been promoting and talking to you about in the previous two podcasts. And if you'd like to go back, if this is the first one you've seen, you can follow us on our YouTube channel, APL Talk with an exclamation point, and you can follow every sequence that we've been through. But this one, we believe, is the most exciting because we are now officially letting you know that we are launching this product in the United States. And this, in the program you're about to see, will give you a full detail about how we're orchestrating this very important move in the U.S. as APL has been now in its seventh year, primarily in Western and Eastern Europe. But in case you haven't seen it, this is just one example of the 14 formulations that we produce, all naturally. And to give you an idea, this is one of the ones I take at night to help me get to sleep, so I'm not buying an over-the-counter formula with all its side effects. And the drops look just like this. You place it under your tongue and wait for it to dissolve. So this particular podcast, as I mentioned, is designed to have you perhaps self-identify yourself as an individual who'd like to join us in this very important U.S. launch beginning early on in the first quarter of 2019.
Well, you pretty much covered all of that. What I love about the launch is that we have played a little bit of a part in helping the development in the United States. We were there at the very beginning, and we were excited to meet the executive team and the president, and we saw where their hearts were. We had heart-to-heart talks, with these executives. It was great to get to know them so well, and they taught us all about the technology, which we had never heard of before because it was 30 years in the making by top scientists, and here we are being presented at the very beginning. So it was pretty exciting to find out what makes the drops so distinctive and even apart from all the other supplements. As we start our show, you will know how experienced we are as far as evaluating supplements and having that kind of experience. So we'll go back and forth. We'll take turns with the presentation. So by the time we finish with the presentation, you will have been quite well informed about the drops, about the company, and a little bit more about human physiology, your nutritional health, and things like that. So we'll go over a lot today.
Great, and as you know, we're coming live from Illusion Studios in Tucson, Arizona, and I just wanted to say that because you can still talk with the drop in your mouth. Just wanted to prove that to everybody.
You think so?
But Esther's absolutely correct. We were honored to be chosen as part of the original launch team to begin the leadership structure for this very important introduction of this product in the United States. So this is an opportunity for you to join us. We can't do this alone, so enjoy the program in front of you, and you'll have all the information you need to make a decision about what role you would like to play with us. The purpose of this program in our series of APL Talk podcasts is to give you an overview, a summary description of the APL company's beta stage launch currently underway in the United States. In this regard, we're actively engaged in identifying and putting into place a leadership structure that will take us to our official U.S. pre-launch very early on in the first quarter of 2019. It's our intention to present this information in a manner that resonates with a listener or two or more and our audience today so that you can see the first mover advantage in joining us to introduce APL's unique series of nutraceutical formulations and their accompanying assistance to healthy body functions. And this is to say, we can't do this alone. So as you can see on the screen, who are we? We are APL. And thanks to the decades-long work by European and American scientists who patented a precise and effective way to capture the natural medicinal content of the world's herbs, berries, fruits, and superfoods, APL oversees all the operations that result in the manufacture, distribution, and delivery of its products, currently in over 60 countries around the world. In fact, give you an idea of when we were founded. We were founded in November of 2011, and 5 years later we opened our own factory to maximize our ability for quality control. And the 14 formulations that we produce are organic, kosher, and halal quality with no chemicals and no stimulants, and definitely not GMO. And these 14 formulations are designed to contribute to the healthy functioning of one or several of our 10 body systems. But the thing that I like most about what we're doing and what this company has done over the last 7 years, it took 30 years for these American and European scientists to come up with a new way to capture the natural medicinal content of these plant sources. And as you can see, the name of the technology is called Accumulate SA Technology, SA standing for Strength Accumulation. And what I'd like to do is just read a couple of sentences in the book that Mary Esther Gilbert has written, and I will turn the program over to her in a couple of minutes. The APL Reference Nutritional Health Guide is the educational anchor to our launch, and it is the quintessential resource for understanding what it is that we produce, what it is that we're distributing. And let me read you a couple of things about this incredible technology. The patented proprietary Accumulate SA technology allows the additional biological activation of botanical ingredients in each drop formulation. And as a result of an impulse influence applied in a freezing environment, a thinning of the cell membranes of the fruits, herbs, and seeds occurs, thereby increasing the percentage of bioactive components in the final product. Now, I know this may seem a little verbose and scientific, but it's incredibly important to understand that this is what separates the APL drop formulations from anything else that's being produced. Finally, this means that the plant materials therefore become more readily and completely absorbed, assimilated, and utilized, since the inner biology of plant cells share many similarities with human DNA. Essential micro and macro mineral elements and important flavonoids, plant organic acids, and many other important antioxidant phytochemicals are also released through these thinned plant cell membranes. So, in this beta stage launch in which we find ourselves, the time is now for us to announce our entry into the U.S. market and to identify individuals throughout the country to lead this effort. And our emphasis here is on education, to provide you the rudimentary facts upon which you can draw your conclusions about your decision to join our venture. So with that said, I'd like to introduce you to my co-host, Esther Gilbert. And as you can see on the screen, she's got 40 years experience as a nutritional healing specialist with zero health problems at 63 years young, practicing what she teaches. And she is a nutritional physiologist. And she created the True Health Mastery and Nutritional Synergy Holistic Total Health System, which, by the way, is trademarked. And she is the author now of 6 books and also the publishing editor, CEO, founder of the True Health Journal. I'm proud to have her as my partner, my associate with our U.S. beta stage and pre-launch that is forthcoming. And again, she is the author of the APL Product Reference Guide, which I referred to you earlier. So without any further ado, I introduce you to Esther Gilbert.
Thank you, Carl, for that wonderful introduction. I will be introducing Carl again later on after my presentation, and that's when I will tell you about his accomplishments. So it'll be my pleasure to do that, Carl. Thank you. I have been a holistic nutritionist and a nutritional science physiologist for many years, for 40 years actually more than 40 years. So I have been researching and teaching clients and audiences and my readership how to apply the holistic approach to one's health management. And it starts with the cellular nourishment at the microcell level, what goes into the body. So I have taught clients about my nutritional system, applying across the board all the essential nutrients that the human body needs, and also teaching them how nutrients work in the body, so all about their nutritional physiology. The presentation I'm doing tonight for you is to introduce you to our AGO product line, which is APL, and it is a very distinctive leading-edge technology in nutritional supplements. It is a nutraceutical drop, and so we have been very, very impressed by the technology and the way it boosts the absorbability and usability in the body. So I'll be telling you a bit about that today. Improving and protecting and transforming your health is the key to avoiding the disease process, the degenerative process that is caused by not providing the body with what it needs to function optimally. So the first thing people need to do to be successful in their own nutritional health management is to understand the physiology of utilizing those nutrients in the body. The human cell is where real health is determined. That's where all of the action is. If you don't provide your body with the full range of nutrients from the right substances, whole foods and whole food supplements, things like that, then the cells will not receive what they need in order to generate new tissues and new body proteins and all the things that make the human body function optimally. People say you are what you eat, but actually you are what you absorb. So it's important to put the right molecules into your body so that it can generate the right substances, the right tissues, the right proteins, the right fluids, the right structures, and everything the body systems need to function optimally. So you are what you absorb. And the way to avoid the common preventable diseases that prevail in our population throughout the world is to make sure you know how your human body works and how nutrients work in the body. We have an epidemic, a disease epidemic, that is actually a preventable set of diseases, and this is occurring worldwide once people acquire the Western diet. So the number one cause of worldwide deaths, the death toll numbers in the millions. So the top cause of preventable deaths, preventable diseases, is ischemic heart disease and stroke. We've lost 15.2 million people in the last 15 years to this most common disease. Number two is the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, diseases of the lungs. We've lost 3 million people as of 2016. And to extend on that, we have the third highest cause is lung and trachea and bronchus cancers. We've lost 1.7 million people. Diabetes, 90% have onset diabetes. In other words, they weren't born or inherited the disease. They have acquired it in their lifetimes. So that 90% of the population falls into this category, and that is the type 2 diabetes. So we've lost 1.6 million people to another preventable disease. Dementias such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and other neurodegenerative diseases are estimated to be around 50 million people. As of 2017, that number is increasing every year by 9.9 million people per year, and that's 3.2 seconds. Every 3.2 seconds, we are losing someone to dementia. Also, communicable diseases such as respiratory infections like colds and flu, we're losing 3 million people as of 2016. Diarrheal diseases, contamination, unsafe drinking water, sanitation, poor hygiene. That number has, we've lost 1.4 million, but it's decreasing. It's decreased by 1 million in 2016. Tuberculosis is another one that we lose people from, 1.3 million. HIV and AIDS decreased from 1.5 to 1 million people as of between 2000 and 2016. And also road injuries, 74% of which were men and boys. We've lost 1.4 million in as of 2016. So these are related to the biochemistry in the body, the types of nourishment that is provided to the body. What you put in the body can either wreak havoc biochemically and therefore upset all of your physical, mental, intellectual, learning abilities, ability to handle stress and make rational choices and just handle stress and stay calm through stress. Things like that are affected by what is put into the body. So the road injuries, men and boys may get aggressive if they're under a lot of stress or just play out their aggressions in a car. And unfortunately, we do have a high death toll from those occurrences. So why are so many deaths occurring from preventable diseases? Well, over the 40 years I've been a consultant and a researcher, I've noticed that it's out of innocence or ignorance. If a person doesn't know any better, then they're not going to have the information and the wherewithal and the self-empowerment to prevent these horrible diseases that are actually, most of them are based from long-term nutrient deficiencies and other environmental factors. So complacency is another one. Someone might know they should take good care of themselves, but they don't for whatever reason. So that's one thing that can lead to a disease if a person isn't taking good care of their health. Also, indifference, if a person doesn't care what they're doing to their body or if they don't believe that if they don't take proper care of it, they will succumb to a preventable disease. So there's an element of indifference in the population as well. So there's a dissociation with the human body in those cases because there's a lack of awareness of what's going on with the trillions of cells in the biochemical processes that are occurring and how those cells are functioning. There's a lack of understanding between the connection of what one eats and drinks and their state of health. There's also the manufacture and mass marketing of nutrient-void, often toxic processed foodstuffs and chemical beverages that aren't serving the nutritional needs of the trillions of cells in the body that require the full range of correctly formed nutrients, so the right molecules aren't being put into the body. There's a lot of misinformation about mass agricultural production, lack of nutrient-dense environments, and use of toxic chemicals, the genetic manipulation of seeds or GMOs, things like that. So the masses aren't informed as to all of the harm that in the environment and the choices that manufacturers are making in the production of foods. It's not always in the best interest of someone's health. It's usually in the best interest of profit margins. So, we as consumers, the more we inform ourselves and educate ourselves properly and are successful in our nutritional physiology health management, then that's when we can make the choices that influence entire industries. Pollution and the synthetic chemicals that are in our consumer products are wreaking havoc on our biological systems. There's a lot of scientific evidence that's mounting as far as the kinds of problems that synthetics in our cosmetics, in our skincare and body care products, and in the household chemicals and the industrial chemicals, pollutions, water, contaminations, things like that. So the synthetic chemicals, such as pesticides, are being analyzed for the effects they're having not only on human cells, but animal life and whole environments and whole ecologies. And you add that to nutrient deficiencies, where the population is not making wise food choices or nutrient-devoid foodstuff choices. And you add being sedentary and the detachment from how their bodies work and how their connection to nature is very important. All that equals into the degenerative disease process. So people are in a decline, a health decline, and the symptoms are all there, but they're not recognized as something that could cause imminent death. So the degenerative disease process is really a national and worldwide epidemic. It's 99% preventable because most of those degenerative diseases are due to many reasons, and which are outlined here. Gross nutrient deficiencies are prevalent. People experiencing pain and inflammation as a result because their bodies are in an inflammatory state, an imbalanced biochemical state. Long-term chronic fatigue sets in, skin problems, digestive eliminative problems, organ malfunctions, circulatory problems. People are more prone to injuries now, and they're slower to heal due to the lack of nutrients required to do repair work. So there's also long-term debilitation in not just the elderly, but even middle-aged people. Excuse me, and also it's occurring in younger and younger people. The advancing stages of disease are pretty obvious among the population now. You see people who are walking around obviously very debilitated. People have sleep problems, hormonal disorders, stress-related symptoms. There's also added to that the medication side effects. We have alcohol and tobacco. These are known to destroy just about every body system in the human body. Pollution from the toxic chemicals. They're ingested in the foods, and they're inhaled in the air from the air. Or like say sprays, someone sprays a household cleaner and you inhale those chemicals. And so they're affecting the entire system that way. The skin is exposed to, the synthetics in the consumer products, and again, the sedentary lifestyles. All of these are preventable, and all of these have choices that can be made that can prevent many of these things. So understanding the human body is key to effective health management. Knowing that the body is an innately intelligent, highly organized system, and it's constantly communicating and cooperating between body systems to make the whole organism run in synergy. And there's different tissues and different functions of those tissues that compose the different body systems. And every body system and all those tissues are composed of the subunits of life, the human cells. So inside those cells, there's a lot of metabolic activity going on, and that metabolic activity requires the right nourishment and the right molecules that arrive at the cells and are allowed inside the cells to do their work. So a lot of the metabolic actions is happening in there. There's a lot of manufacturing facilities inside the cells, the disassembling and repurposing, reassembling, different types of activities going on inside the human cells constantly. Inside the cells also is the nucleus of each cell, and that contains the DNA, which is the genetic code. And that contains all of the instructions that tell every cell and every biological process what to do and how to run the entire system. So to protect the functioning of all of our cells and all body systems, we have to address the 10 critical elements. And if one of these elements are missing, then chances are the body is going to succumb to some kind of malfunction. And if that happens often enough and over a period long enough, then it will start deteriorating into the disease process. And if that continues, then a person will acquire a nutrient deficiency or degenerative disease. And a lot of those diseases, the person, if that keeps going, will result in an early death. So oxygen is the first thing, of course, we need. We need to breathe, and we need to breathe clean air. So oxygen is the most critical. We can't be without it for more than a couple of minutes. And water is also important. We can't be without that for more than a few days. So everything dries up and nothing is circulated, nothing is communicated, and everything starts breaking down. So water is very, very critical to all life. Enzymes, these are proteins that the body is composed of and produces, and the enzymes are the vital catalysts for all biochemical reactions in the body, so nothing can happen without the spark of the enzyme actions. Enzymes are also present in uncooked foods, so raw fruits and vegetables, whole grains, berries, the different leafy greens and herbs, and all those live plant foods contain enzymes that actually help absorb all of the nutrients contained in those plants. So the more plant foods that are raw, uncooked, you consume, the higher abundance of these very vital enzymes you will also be ingesting, and those are going to be used very, very wisely throughout the whole body for various biochemical reactions. Nutrient absorption and utilization, the body must ingest the full range of all known vitamins and minerals. And so those nutrients are extremely important. The body cannot manufacture them, and they cannot live without them. So we need to take them in on a daily basis. And if they're in the right form, whole food form, unprocessed, then they're more likely to be broken down properly into their most basic components and utilized and absorbed through the cell membranes and into the world of the cell, where everything is happening and where real health is occurring. So if we ingest the right foods, such as proteins, carbohydrates, and fats, we're ingesting the body's able to break all those foods down, all those gigantic molecules of foods down to the basic components, small enough to enter the cell membrane so that the body can also begin to manufacture its own set of proteins and biochemicals, and replicate our cells properly, transfer the genetic code from one old cell to the new cells, cell turnover like that. So everything runs on these types of macro energy nutrients so that the body can fuel all of those biological processes. So the body needs complete proteins. Once the body breaks down animal-derived proteins, then we have an array of all 9 essential amino acids. The body makes some amino acids, but it requires these 9 essential amino acids to build new body proteins. So plant foods do have some of these essential amino acids, but they do not contain all 9 at the same time in one place and in the adequate enough potencies. So animal-derived proteins are the most valuable as far as rebuilding our own tissues and cells and our immune system and things like that. So vegetarians are hard-pressed to try to find the amino acid content of plant foods and combine them to the point where they're getting an equal amount and in the same array as in an animal-derived protein. So that therein lies the challenge. Also, the body needs carbohydrates as long as they are in the whole food form and not highly refined and highly processed. And because when the carbohydrates are refined, they lose their vitamin mineral content, they lose their fatty acid, their valuable fatty acid content, they lose their fiber, valuable fiber, their enzymes. They lose just about everything except for the starch. And so in concentrated forms, refined carbohydrates can wreak havoc on the blood sugar monitoring systems in the body. Okay, so whole food carbohydrates are slower released energy, and they have many other augmenting properties that assist in becoming healthy or staying healthy. So the body breaks down carbohydrates down to glucose, the fundamental component of sugar in the body. So glucose is blood sugar, and that is absorbed through the cell membranes and can fuel the cellular processes in the body, and it's the main fuel for the brain. So carbohydrates are very important for fueling all bodily processes. Fats are extremely important too. They're the precursors to the thousands of hormones that the body makes. The body makes tens of thousands of hormones that are regulating hormones, reproductive hormones, and monitoring hormones. So these hormones are the communications that serve as the go-between as far as starting and stopping all cellular and biological processes in the body, and they also communicate very closely with the nervous system. So it's important to take in the right types of fats so that your hormonal system and all your glandular system, the endocrine system, will be functioning optimally for you. Fatty acids are fats are broken down into fatty acids so that they can enter the cell membrane and do their work. They are the component for nerve cell functioning and other functions in the body. Vitamin complexes, I say complexes because vitamins must be derived in whole food form from plant-derived foods. They also work very closely with enzymes, so they get together with the enzyme molecules and they join together to help the enzymes do their work in the body. Also from plants are mineral complexes as opposed to elemental minerals such as rocks. Plants take up the minerals from the soils and they convert them to biologically available to the human cell. So we need plant nutrient complexes rather than isolated minerals as found in many nutritional supplements. So mineral complexes are the cofactors. They assist in trillions of biochemical processes as well. The plant phytonutrients, those are the plant fluids, the lifeblood of the plants. And those phytonutrients are built into the plant to protect the plant, and they also contain many beneficial health-giving properties to humans and animals. They are very good antioxidants. They neutralize toxins and environmental pollutants. They also are DNA protectors. The body recognizes those plant cell DNA and other plant cell constituents as very useful types of molecules that it can disassemble and reassemble to use for itself and its own optimal functioning. Also, plant phytonutrients bind and chelate to toxic chemicals, so they allow safe detoxification in the body, so they help eliminate those toxins out of the body. So these are the 10 elements that must be in the diet every day. And if you stick to whole foods and eat well-balanced meals, then chances are you will be getting all of these very important elements for optimal lifelong health. The keys to true health management success is just to support your body's innate capacity to prevent or reverse the degenerative disease process so you can thrive. So once you nourish your body completely, then you, with all of these essential nutrients here from the foods you eat and the optimal supplements you take in, then you will probably be good to go. You can thrive and not worry about your health and not succumb to the degenerative deficiency disease process. So where do you get all of those essential to life nutrients? Okay, well, they come from plant foods, as you can see. But there are plant foods that are less nutrient dense than others. It depends on the environment in which they come from, in which they are grown. And same with the animals. Are they grown? Are they raised in nutrient dense environments? Are they happy animals? Do they have lots of room to move around and be happy? So that plays a huge role as far as the nutrient density of even animal derived foods. Okay, so this is a much more humane way to raise animals. And since the body requires all of those 9 essential amino acids that animal tissues provide for us, then we must be very, very grateful for these animals that are given a chance to live a happy life first before they become food for in the food chain, in the web of life. So water must be cleansed and detoxified as well through the earth filtration processes, and hopefully we humans can make the effort to stop polluting the earth so that it can catch up and cleanse itself. It's already behind the curve, so we must stop polluting the planet so that we can have clean water, clean air, and clean and healthy foods. So there's different ways to produce foods. I mean, there's a variety of plant foods and a variety of plant phytochemicals and nutrients in all of these wonderful superfoods. But it's the environment that they're grown in that makes a big difference. And this is a traditional organic row by row way of planting foods. And this is a traditional permaculture food forest, various layers of foods. Everything here is a food. And so this method produces more per acre and more per yard than even the traditional organic way. So this is like beyond organic, mimicking nature and building a regenerative, self-regenerating environment, as opposed to having to constantly replenish the soil after every harvest and till the soil and things like that. So even though this is extremely nutritious then in this organic way, but the permaculture is also organic, but also contains a lot higher nutrient-dense soils and healthier living soils and things like that. So there's definite advantages. But we have to produce food. We have to produce healthy food. We can no longer the environment can't handle, and the human bodies, our health can't handle the traditional way of mass-producing foods by just inserting a few chemicals and many, many pesticides in the soils, which become lifeless. So if you're not nourishing the soils, you're not nourishing the plants that we eat, and therefore we have a nutrient void types of plants unless we're eating foods that are grown in a nutrient-rich ecology. So biologically correct nourishment is needed by the body's trillions of active cells every few hours. So eating a well-balanced diet, and that's including foods from the various food categories. I actually have created my own food system, the nutritional synergy system. It actually has 14 categories. Other food systems only have just several, not very many. But the 14 categories address the various attributes of various types of plants. So, when you go through my system, you make food selections, and that way you're ensuring yourself the full range of not only vitamins and minerals, but phytonutrients. I have examined many supplements over the years, and usually I have rejected them and do not advocate them for my clients and my students. So it's important to know how to select supplements. So there's a whole list of criteria that I use to determine whether a supplement is worth taking or not. When I was introduced to the APL product line, I was introduced to the company's technology, and it's the cutting-edge technology that makes all the difference for boosting the capacity of organic materials. So I will tell you about that in a moment. The human body is pretty amazing. It has many, many different systems and many, trillions of cells and multiple trillions of biochemical processes, and all throughout the body are these different systems. Let's take the digestive system, for instance. If you break down that all the way down to the atomic level, you'll see that the more you break something down, the more detail you see. So if you take the stomach, for instance, and you look at the stomach lining, you'll see all the billions of cells that it's composed of, and the blood vessels and all the biochemicals and nutrients that arrive and are absorbed into the cells. If you take the cell of that stomach lining, you'll see that it's shaped like this, and different cells are shaped different ways, so they have different functions, so they're going to be shaped differently for that need. But inside each cell is the genetic code of instructions that is good for the whole entire body. So every single cell, as diverse and different as they are, still contain the same genetic information for the entire body. And inside every cell are little organelles that do the manufacturing, disassembling, repurposing, rebuilding factories. So this is where everything happens inside the body. If you're going to be healthy, you provide the right nourishment to it, and you will help the inside world of the cell function optimally, and therefore help the macro organisms function optimally as well. So as you keep breaking things down smaller and smaller, from large molecules to small molecules, all the way down to the atom, we can keep going. I mean, the subatomic world it just keeps going, But let's stop right here for now and know that in the atom, in the world of the atom, there are, of course, there's circulating, particles, right? So, and at this point, we see that we are only 3% matter and 97% light energy. So there's so much electronics going on at the micro level that we are in awe of how that can be possible. But indeed, as the more the body has been studied, smaller and smaller you go into the inner universe, then you see actually it's mostly things are mostly space and energy as opposed to particles. So know that the plant foods that we eat contain the light energy that we can utilize. So plants have a way of converting that light energy into usable energy for our bodies, and then in turn we can use that for energy. Okay, so the body's pretty amazing. It's a highly organized system. It thrives on the optimal cellular nourishment that you provide for it. And these are the different types of, just a handful of different types of tissues in the body. This is actually an electron micrograph of bone marrow. are actually bone tissue, and you can see the different cells and the nuclei, the nucleus, the genetic code in every one of these bone cells. And you can see inside the bone the matrix that produces immune cells, white blood cells, and red blood cells. So it's a living tissue. You know, people don't realize that that's what bone is. Bone is actually a living, breathing tissue. And skin also has layers upon layers of microcirculation and different components that produce hair follicles and fatty acids to lubricate the skin, things like that. The muscles have different layers. You go deep into the muscles, and there's just different layers. You peel off different layers. So the muscles are also, you know, they do have their own DNA in their cells, and they also have all the microcomponents that are present in every other kind of cell. Nerve cells, this is a neural network of different cells communicating with their communicating pathways, and these are depictions or models of proteins. So proteins are massive molecules, and they rearrange themselves in different ways. There are literally trillions of biochemicals that are composed of protein. So proteins have different jobs to do in the body. They are chemical messengers. They start and stop signaling to stop and start biological processes. They just have a tremendous amount of jobs to do to keep us alive in the body. And all of this requires the right nourishment. You take the brain and the nervous system and this tremendous neurocommunication pathway that extends all the way out to every single part of the body. So we've got billions of neurons in the body that are communicating with all body systems just to monitor the system to keep you alive and well. And when something goes wrong, then those systems will tell you in the way of pain, in the way of degenerative diseases and other symptoms that occur. So the thing is, it all requires the right nutrients to maintain. It's really simple. Okay, so a lot of these neural networks, they extend to all areas of the body, and these are just some of the examples as to where in the body these neural networks connect to. So people ask, why take nutritional supplements? Well, there's a lot of reasons in this day and age. We don't live in an ideal world, so we have to protect ourselves as much as possible, as long as we take in the right type of nutritional supplements. I have examined many supplements in my career. I used to have clients come to my office and bring their boxes or bowls full of, or bags full of nutritional supplements, and I would show them ingredient by ingredient whether the supplement was worth taking or not, and 90% of the time they were not. They were wasting their money. They were not potent enough. They were not absorbable enough. They weren't balanced. They weren't complete enough. So if you're going to take a supplement, might as well take a multiple nutrient supplement made from a whole food. Okay, so, and those whole foods must be sourced from nutrient dense environments. So there's a lot to a nutritional supplement. There can be a great one and there can be a very poor one. So taking nutritional supplements, the right ones, are for protection, extra health insurance against the daily bombardment of exposure to thousands of pollutants, industrial and synthetic chemicals daily from neurotoxins and hormone disruptors and weakening the immune system. Also, missing nutrients in foods, processed foods, they cause deficiencies and malfunctions and inflammatory responses. If you take in molecularly altered foods, which are processed foods, then they're going to wreak havoc on the system. They're not going to do their job and nourish the body and improve its functioning. Instead, it's going to diminish its functioning. So also nutrient depleted lifeless soils in food production environments, like I mentioned earlier. If the soils aren't nourished properly and built up to the point of they are high in nutrient density, then there's going to be some nutrient deficiencies in the food system and also in human health. So also taking nutritional supplements help reduce the negative physical and psychological effects of stress. Stress hormones, inflammatory signaling proteins are called into action. Diminished immune function occurs, reduced brain function. So there's a lot of negative impact associated with the psychological and physical effects of stress. So taking extra nutrients in the form of a good supplement will help to attenuate some of those responses. Again, uncertainty of soil nutrient content. If you're eating organic foods, then you don't know how well the soils have been amended and how well they are being replenished with the substances required to build healthy soil. So it varies from farm to farm. So the soil is the key component of a healthy plant, okay, a nutrient-dense plant food. So there are inconsistencies in food nutrient content, including in organic food production. So every nutrient is essential. Even one missing nutrient halts any one of the body's trillions of vital cellular processes, the repair, regeneration, and maintenance, etc. So absorbability is the single most important factor in an effective supplement. If your supplement is not absorbable, if your cell membranes cannot accept them into the cellular environment, then they are not absorbable. They're not biologically compatible. So the idea is to get a supplement that is so good that the body can break it down and utilize the nutritional components in it. And therein lies the challenge for nutritional supplements. Even the best supplement is not 100% absorbable, and it has to be taken in and swallowed and go through the tedious and slow digestive process. You know, it takes food anywhere from 36 hours to 72 hours just to break it down to the point where the nutrients are separated out and the fundamental nutrients are accepted through the cell membranes. That's the challenge. Okay, so the APL nutraceutical drops, their technology boosts the absorbability factor in plant materials and therefore making it the body's helping the body's innate regenerative capacity improve. So therein lies the compatibility. So the APL technology is revolutionizing the absorbability and effectiveness of the nutritional supplements. So I will go into it and show you why. So this is the criteria that I use to choose a supplement, and APL supplements surprised me. They go beyond the basic qualifications that I consider to be a good supplement. So normally, if a supplement has all the right types of nutrients from whole foods and enzymes and fatty acids and all these wonderful phytonutrients from a variety of foods, then that's a pretty good supplement. And that's just a good supplement, right? But the quintessential nutritional supplement, now that's another matter. This is what is impressing me most about the APL nutraceuticals. So they do contain all the basic criteria that marks a superior supplement. They are organically grown materials from the farms that are outsourced from one company that works very, very closely with the company. So we know exactly where the organic materials are coming from, and the types of soil nutrition is going into the soils, and all those details that produce the optimal plants. Okay, so this company has the organically grown whole foods and with all of their nutrient complexes intact and complete molecules that the body recognizes and understands and can accept into the microuniverse of your cells. So that's very, very important. The right form, the right soils, and the right nutrients. The nutraceutical drops are in candied form, and so they are easy to ingest. You just pop one in your mouth. They start dissolving right away, especially if you put them under the tongue. They start being assimilated, rapidly absorbed through the cell tissues, the cell membranes of the mucosal membranes of the mouth, and they go right into the bloodstream, and they are distributed right where they're needed. So the body's very innately intelligent that way. If it detects a need for nutrients and they happen to come along, then they happen to arrive at that site. Then the cell can read the genetic material or the molecules and allow it entry into the cell environment. So the nutraceutical drops are 100% absorbable and 100% utilizable. The company of APL has impeccable production processes from beginning to end. They've got the highest certifications in production and product excellence that are in the world, and this is in 50 different countries. So that's pretty impressive. The organic, nutrient-rich growing environment, the living soils, They also not only take that into consideration, but they also harvest the plants at their peak potencies, which means certain times of days for different plants and seasons, things like that. So they pay attention to the maximum nutrients in the plant materials. And of course, they don't pollute or contaminate their soils with any of the pesticides or any of the synthetic chemicals that wreak havoc on life in the soil and diminish the health of the plant and therefore diminish the health of the foods that we eat. So organic seeds, non-toxic, organic environments, they have the technology from all the way from the soil to the seed to the end product for consistent potency. So they monitor everything all along the way. The company has a heightened climate. They have inspiring messages that are sincere, and they have real purpose and a real mission. They truly care about people's health and the health of the planet. Of course, a supplement with high integrity such as this, there's no artificial synthetic inflammatory ingredients and no genetically modified organisms or other potentially harmful ingredients. So I will introduce the APL Product Reference Nutritional Health Guide that I have authored and compiled for associates and our customers. So I will be going into that shortly. I'd like to address a little bit more about the superior supplementation of the APL's accumulate assay technology. So this was perfected over a period of 30 years by a team of scientists from all over the world, and they actually, the company actually acquired the patent for this technology. So they're the only ones in the world that hold this boosting type of technology that improves the already high nutrient content of superfoods that we use in the formulations. So again, they are immediate entry through the highly selective cell membranes. There's no problem there. They contain readily available microcell plant components, which means right here, like inside a typical cell, we have all the DNA, we have the protein manufacturing sites, the fatty acid manufacturing sites, the immune complexes that are being formed and distributed throughout the system. So the cell replicating processes, all the energy producing and all the potential for creating new tissues are right here inside the cell. So the process, the technological process, actually thins the cell membranes of plants and releases all of the plant cell components so that our cells can utilize all of those molecules for themselves. And so that's one reason to eat your vegetables. Plants are extremely valuable for replenishing and replacing and regenerating our own cells. They also bypass the slow digestive process, as I've mentioned. The molecules that arrive at the cell membranes as a result of ingesting the drops or absorbing the drops are recognized by the cells as the biologically correct molecules. Okay, so there's an identification that occurs here at the cell membrane site. These are proteins that identify the correct molecular structures, and then once they arrive, they allow them inside the cell. So it's a very protective feature in the body that the body does not allow foreign or invading or distorted molecules or mutated molecules into the cell. Okay, unless the outer coating of the cell is damaged, and then we're of course in danger of that. So the drops contain the correct DNA sequencing. Okay, so the plants from those botanicals contain the DNA that are able to correct any kind of genetic code discrepancies that occur as a result of cellular damage or other factors that harm the body. So there's a very protective factor built into the APL drops due to the protective factor that are present in the botanicals in the drops. Okay, so matching molecular blueprints, they correct all the many cell mutations. So I'll explain a little bit further about how they do that. So they repair, they regenerate the damaged cells and tissues in that way. So as you see, I mentioned all these things already, immediately distributed. Yeah, okay, so 100% nutrient absorption, that means the uptake into the tissues of every body system, all the vital organs, all the glands, all the structures, all the fluids, and that includes all of these different systems throughout the whole entire body. So that's pretty exciting. Magnified antioxidant power, as I mentioned earlier, the technology boosts the capacity to provide extra electron power to neutralize free radicals or substances that harm and damage our cells. The abundance of electrons. So they neutralize the cell damaging effect of the scavenging molecule. So a scavenging molecule is also called a free radical, any molecule that is missing electrons and is trying to scavenge to possess more electrons so that they can do their damage. But the electrons that are donated actually neutralize their capacity to harm the body, so that has an effect of rendering them harmless so the body can eliminate them more easily. So plant and human cells have a lot of things in common, as you might have guessed. They're highly compatible with human cells. The plant fluids are very similar to human blood. The plant cell organelles, they manufacture the proteins, the lipids, the sugars, just like the human cell organelles do. So inside the nucleus of the cell is the genetic material, the DNA, and so our cells, once ingested, can actually take that information and repair certain segments of our own DNA, and I'll show you how that's done in a minute. Plants store energy derived from the sunlight, and they convert that to carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and they use nitrogen from the soil to create proteins. So they convert energy from the sun and from the soil and create the plant. So that's sunlight stored in those plants, and so that's the potential that our bodies can use when our bodies digest the proteins and fats and the carbohydrates down back to their components. That energy is released, and that is what helps fuel the biological processes that occur inside of our cells. It's a very, very fascinating thing that occurs. So also, plants produce amino acids and vitamins from the nitrogen and the carbon dioxide in the air. They sequester the greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere and into the soil where they belong. So the more plants we plant all over the planet, the less carbon dioxide and other toxic atmospheric pollutants will be neutralized or harvested or brought back into the soil. Minerals and microbial life. Yeah, the whole thing is a whole ecosystem in action, and we must have the microbial life in the nutrient-rich earth environment. So it all stems from making sure that our soils are nutrient-rich, our environments are well-balanced in their ecologies so that plants can thrive, and we can have healthier animals and also have healthier humans. Again, here's another this is an actual electron micrograph of a plant cell and a mammal cell. This happens to be a mouse cell. And we mammals have the same type of cells in the body, the same manufacturing sites, the same thing. We vary in our genetic code, obviously. The sequencing of genes are different in every single form of life, but for the most part, we all have this in common, including plants. So plant and human cell similarities equal biocompatible nourishment. So you can see why we consider plants to be very biocompatible with humans and animal cells. And that equals cellular repair and corrective action. So we take the information from here, we translate it over here, and we utilize it we have all the components necessary to rebuild our tissues and cells and generate all the actions that occur inside the human cell. So all of those actions equal health regeneration and protection. Once you get everything working properly inside the cell, then everything at the macro level will function optimally as well. This is all about cellular nourishment. When we examine the DNA, we can look at the genetic code. The rungs of the ladder of the DNA are actually base pairs of genes: adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. So all these four combine to make several million different types of proteins in the body. And this genetic code is housed inside the cell nucleus of every single cell, as I said earlier. If we were to compare the DNA of a plant and the DNA of our own cells, let's take a protein that the body manufactures. It's called cytochrome C oxidase subunit 6B. Since there are literally trillions of proteins circulating in the body, they have to be named. They have to be given numbers and names to distinguish them from the others. So this happens to be an inflammatory protein that, actually not inflammatory, I think this is the different one. Okay, it's an enzyme. It's a metabolic enzyme. I'm sorry, quite the opposite. Okay, so this is an enzyme, oxidase, I should have known. ASE means enzyme. Okay, so, and also this particular plant, it's in the cress family, the watercress family. It produces the same protein. Okay, so when we lay out the genetic code of this segment of these proteins, then we can compare and see the similarities of the genes that are arranged in the same order. For instance, the guanine, cytosine, thymine, and adenine, two adenines there, are laid out. This is probably cut off, so this is probably part of something else. So anyway, the GCTA usually come in base pairs like that. So when we compare that, if this part of the human genome is damaged and the body ingests, say, this plant, then it will examine and compare the genetic code. And if it sees this sequencing and it knows it's supposed to belong in this place right here, then the body will actually splice it off and open up the the genetic code a little bit and insert these sequences of genes. And voila, we have a healing process. We have a functioning improvement in the cell environment. So this can be the rest of the genome was laid out somewhat. So there are a lot of similarities as you go along and compare the two, couple of guanines, and we have the guanine, adenine, thymine, and so here's a good sequence here that can be utilized. So it's important, another reason, to eat plant foods, to eat your fruits and vegetables and runnuts and seeds and whole grains. It's important part of the nutritional requirements of the human body. We have 14 formulations, and they address all the body systems, the nutritional needs of the body systems, because the drops contain various types of botanicals. We have 80 botanicals altogether in the 14 formulations, and I have done research on every single one of these botanicals. I was familiar with them for many years as I applied them in my practice in advocating and helping my clients understand the value of plants in previous years, but in the last 8 years I've been stepping up my research and producing materials for educational purposes. And when I came across the APL product line, I decided, well, we do need one of those, reference guides to educate not only our associates but also our customers. So the goal is to improve the health of the masses, and why not start with our own people here? So I wrote the official monographs for every single botanical and superfood that are in every single one of these formulations, and that required extensive months of research. So in this compilation, you'll find, if you look up any one of these botanicals, you'll see all of the phytonutrient factors and other nutrient factors that are present in these plants, and how scientific clinical studies and research studies over a period of time have managed to compile and reach many conclusions as to the health attributes of these plants. So that's why it's important to know what's in plants and how the body works and what these constituents do for the body. Here's the the APL product reference nutritional health guide. Boy, that's a mouthful. I have trouble remembering the name of my own title of my own book, but it gives you a pretty good idea of what's inside. It's a product reference manual. It's also a nutritional health guide. It's a business tool for associates and an educational reference tool for customers, and it contains over 600 pages of very valuable information that will help people improve their health and help others improve theirs. There's scientific evidence-based monographs, as I just told you, that describe the health-building, health-protective attributes of every botanical ingredient and every nutrient factor in every formulated drop. It also contains a comprehensive encyclopedia compendium of terms, so the layperson can go in and read about the science of the nutritional aspects of the plants in the drops, and learn a lot about what those terms mean by looking them up in the encyclopedia compendium. Anyone who is well schooled in the biological sciences can also enjoy the book and brush up on their terms as well. There are many different very convenient charts that I inserted in the book so that someone can go to a chart and say what ingredients are in which botanical, or rather, what ingredient botanicals are in what particular drop formula. So that would be a quick reference chart. There's also a lot of information about nutrition. So there's a lot of nutrients charts in there, and there's a chart about the different body systems and the nutritional needs of the different body systems and how they match up to our formulations. So it's all about making the body healthy, right? Okay, so it's also designed to maintain accuracy in learning and sharing of information. So we want our associates and our customers to be highly informed so that they can be more efficient in their nutritional health management. The book also it was designed to build appreciation of the human body's highly complex design. And really, the compliancy rate goes way high when I've taught my clients and students and audiences all about the human body and why they should be eating healthfully. When you make that connection between what you eat and what's in the plant substances and other nutrient factors, other food groups, then the compliancy rate is way, way high. So the success rate is high when people understand what's going on. The book also helps build awareness of how to properly manage one's nutritional health, as I said earlier. So it was put together with the idea of increasing the health of the population and helping people be highly informed. The book can be purchased at my website, holisticchoices.com. You might, if you want to copy this whole long URL, you're welcome to, of course. But if you just go to holisticchoices.com, and on the left side, you'll see the APL product guide, and you can click on that. It takes you to the page where you can order the Amazon Kindle version of the book or the hard copy version. On that same page, you'll see a form that you can fill out with your name and email address if you want to be informed of more educational videos that are being recorded and coming out soon. On the first video that Carl Tichenor and I made was an inside look into the book, so I take the potential reader throughout the whole book so they can see what they're getting into, and so it's a pretty good, thorough explanation of what's inside the book. Also, we did a Q&A kind of interview type of thing with Carl Tichenor being the main host and me as the co-host. We turned it into a Q&A session, and we answered questions that people were starting to have about the book, and we started answering questions about health in general. So there's going to be a lot more informative podcasts and videos coming your way. So please do opt into our opt-in form on that web page, and that way we can keep you informed and keep you apprised of everything that's going on. So total health vibrancy is our human legacy. We want to make sure that we keep producing healthy cells in the body, and we can pass on those genes onto subsequent generations. In the last couple of maybe 3 or 4 generations, our genetic code is being diminished, it's being degraded, and so the species is in danger of eventually becoming extinct if we keep going in that direction, if we keep doing the terrible things to the human body by providing it with the wrong molecules, the nutrients that are terribly missing in so many of these manufactured foods. So we have to go back to nature and realize that our bodies are biological ecologies. Our biological terrain requires the same type of nutrients that the environment outside of us do. So we require sunlight, we require water and oxygen and nutrients in order for this biological organism that we are to function optimally. Okay, so we want to be in the optimal biochemical state so that we can have optimal functioning of all body systems, and that includes our brain and nervous system functioning and our hormone functioning to keep us biologically balanced, to make better decisions and stay calm through stress, things like that. So we want to maintain our optimal human potential as well. So as you can see, as early as back in the 50s, we have, it was rare to see someone who was obese or in a wheelchair or anything like that. The human race was a bit healthier even 60 years ago. So the idea is to stay nourished and pass on healthy genes to the next generation. The APL company takes a holistic approach. Some of its parts are greater, the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, so to speak. So that's the holistic approach for a sustainable business. So the APL company has, their hearts are in the right place, and their dedication for building true health along with personal wealth to their associates and to their customers. So there's a lot of great incentives as well if you choose to join us in this quest for a healthier humanity. So the company is of high integrity. That's the president there in the middle, and that's him with his top staff. They're all dressed up, dressed to the nines. But yeah, we went to New York and we met the president and his executive team. And so it was great fun to learn about the technology. That was very, very exciting. And that's what sold me, because I have examined, like I said, so many supplements in my career that I was ready to say, well, yeah, I've seen a lot of supplements and these are great ingredients. But when they told me about how the technology boosts the capacity of these plant materials and actually helps them become more utilizable, more potent, and more effective for our nutritional health, and that's when I said, okay, let's take a look at this. So it was great fun to learn all about the company, all about the different formulations and the technology. The company cares about people. They care about your health. They care about you, and they care about the world. And that's in alignment with my ethics and principles and standards as well, as I'm sure it is for many of you out there.